We are live on a Thursday. Can you believe it? Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining me. We are normally live here on Mondays on this channel, but we got a special little pop-up stream. Today we are going to be working with Baby Audio's new plugin called Humanoid. So I want to say thank you to Baby Audio for sponsoring today's stream. So if you are interested in a very cool vocal plugin, so there's like your regular run-of-the-mill auto-tune, right? Pitch correction, whatever. Then there's plugins like Humanoid, or I don't know if there is a plugin like Humanoid, which take things to the next level. Levels too quiet. I'm coming up now. Is it better? How are we doing now? Thank you all for joining today. We are checking out Humanoid. We're going to get into what that plugin is in just a moment. Happy Thursday, old gamer. Pumped to finally be catching a live stream. Happy little hugs. I'm happy to have you back. What's up, Kyle? Nice to see you. What's up, ADR X-Ray? Listening in the car on the way to work. It is almost the weekend, as Accent Noir points out. And hello to Kayla. And hello to Kai. Kai says, thank God it's Thursday. Yeah, thank God it's Thursday. But I do have bad news, my friends. The bad news is it's about 100 degrees. It's going to be about 100 degrees today. And the AC has stopped working. The AC requires a repair. A new blower motor, they say. And that might get installed today, but it might not get installed today. Also, we have our friends Baby Audio in the chat, so if any questions come up today, you can let us know. And Accent Noir, if you're still here hanging around, let me know if the levels are quieter than usual. Or if we're back up to normal. I think we should kind of be at our normal level situation. Let me see if coming up here is going to work. As long as we're not clipping. You keep me posted if we start clipping at any point. Everybody else chime in. I did run a poll in the chat. Do you make music with vocals? 40% said yes, surprisingly. 51% more importantly said no, but I'd like to try. So this is the stream for you. Accent Noir says, still quiet, or is it just me? Somebody else chime in. Where's Kayla? Levels are good from Baby Audio. Okay, I think we're good. Maybe we're a little lower than usual, but I don't know why that would be. What's up, Nate Work? How's it going? Welcome to the stream. All right. Anyway, so it's hot in the studio today. So my only concern, well, my main concern is surviving. It's very difficult to sleep in the heat. I don't know if any of you need it to be super cold when you sleep. I'm one of those people for sure. And without the AC at night, it's very difficult to sleep. So that's one thing I'm worried about. But the main thing I'm worried about for you all is that we end up having some type of technical issue due to the heat. So should any weird issues arise with the stream, we'll try to make them work. But hopefully things don't start to catch fire around here. I hope. But we are going to be working on a pretty cool song. I want to play you all the song that I've been working on, but I do want to investigate the stream volume situation for just a moment. So bear with me here, and I'll see if I can boost this level here. It's odd. I think everything is set to as normal, but I am seeing it reading a little softer. And see, Nate Work is with me. Keep it 68 degrees Fahrenheit at all times. That's where I'm at. So if you can imagine, I'm the type of person to be like, I need the 68 degrees Fahrenheit at all times. And now I'm sitting here in what is probably close to 90 degrees. It's not doing well. It's not doing well. So we'll do our best. Please keep me posted if we are clipping. I think the levels are about as good as we're going to get today. Everything on my hardware is set to normal. In the software, it's normal as well. Oh, yikes. Don't have AC in the UK. Old Gamer says, please have a sale on plugins. They're great. And then Baby Audio, of course, mentions use code TAETRO10. Yes, we've got a discount code in the description, and we've got a link to the Humanoid plugin that we're going to check out today. Also, Humanoid is on sale for like an introductory price. So if you like what you see today, that'll be a chance. I don't like your attitude, Kyle. You might want to take your hat off. Yes, well, here's the problem. Usually I work out in the mornings, so then I shower, and then I style my hair, and then I'm ready for work, ready for the stream, right? And then it was obviously too hot this morning, and I had a meeting before the stream, so I didn't work out in the morning. Therefore, I didn't shower before the stream. Therefore, I didn't style my hair, so I'm wearing a hat. That's the cheat code. The hat, a lot of people think that I'm bald. I'm, in fact, not bald. I am, in fact, have a huge, luscious head of hair, but I'm lazy. So I spent years and years and years just wearing a hat. So that's the situation. And of course, we go fashion over function. It's always 100 degrees here in Indonesia. Yikes, yikes, yikes. What's good, Tim Palm? Nice to see you. How are you doing? Kayla says, that's no fun. That happened a couple summers ago when I started a new job at home. I had like 3 fans on me and a cold towel nearby. The cold towel is a hack. I did do a little cold towel action last night. I have a fan directly to my right, and I have a fan that shoots down at me from the ceiling, which is usually helpful when the AC is running. I can't think about it now. I'm too sad about it. All right. I think that's all my complaining is going to be today. But I hope you are well. I hope you are staying cool no matter where you are in the world. Winter gang, where are you at? Only 181 days till Christmas. That's crazy. I'm just trying to get through the summer, to be honest. I'm just trying to get through the fall, actually. Beattober is on the way. All right. So let's get right into things today. Like I said, we're going to be working with a vocal, like a hard tuning plugin, basically. No, not a hard tune plugin. What am I doing? Not a hard tune plugin. So much more than a hard tuning plugin. It's like a vocal transformation plugin. Here is what it looks like. It's called Humanoid, but I want to play it for you in action. I've been working on a kind of a pop EDM style song with Humanoid, and I used top line vocals that I got from Splice. And if you've ever used top line vocals, or if you've ever downloaded top line vocals from Splice, you know you have like very little control over them, right? They're usually, for the most part, already processed. Even if they have dry versions available, the dry versions still have like some minimum amount of processing, I've found. So then what happens if you want to add harmonies? What happens if you want to really like push those vocals further than they are? How can you make a whole song with vocals that you found on Splice? That's what I've attempted to do here today, and the Humanoid plugin has made that possible. So do y'all want to hear the song? First, let's do, yeah, you know what? I'll play the song, but what I need y'all to do in chat is let me know if the audio is weird at all or any kind of clipping, etc. So I'm going to bring up the project for you all to watch. And move that over here. Oh, look, my screen is all strange. Here, I got this. Everything. See, that things get hot and things just get strange. There we go. Whew. All right, here we go. Let's hear the tune. So this is interesting. I made the whole instrumental for this tune in one sitting, and then when I needed to work on the Baby Audio project, I was able to fit these vocals in nicely. So let me know what you all think of this. This blue and below, these are all vocals. And see what you hear vocal-wise.
this life, something that I can't control. I wish I could be blind, but I just need to know. No, where do we go when our skin gets cold? Does anybody know if the place we go still feels like home? They're not telling us everything. They've got secrets to keep. If I ever know everything, then I'll finally sleep.
All right.
Something that I can't control.
What do we think? All right. How do we like that tune, chat? What are we thinking? So this is a little pop tune, different from the lo-fi stuff that I usually work on, but I love making like pop music. I think when I first started getting into electronic music, I was really interested in EDM, and still am into like super into pop music in general. Been listening to a lot of the Charlie XCX new album Brat, which is great. So this plugin came my way just in time. Are those vocal samples, or did you have that recorded for this specifically? These are vocal samples straight out of Splice. So let me walk you through this whole process. Of course, all these vocals, all the layers you're hearing, those are all processed with the Humanoid plugin, and I'm going to get into how. But let's start at the bare minimum. Let me start with like what is even going on in this project. First of all of these tracks that you see here, this kind of half, these bottom half, these are all vocals here. So all of those are contributing to the vocals in some way and somehow, which I'll get into in a moment. And then I've grouped everything for the instrumental in here. So if I solo the instrumental for a moment, I'm also using Transit by Baby Audio to do some transitions. Let's see if we can spot where those transitions are. So we got transition effects on the instrumental itself. So that cool sound is coming from Transit. If you remember, we worked with that plugin a while ago on stream. It is Andrew Wong in Baby Audio collaboration. So that's pretty cool. But let's talk about the process. So like I said, I created the instrumental first. And I'm probably going to put out a video just about the creation of the instrumental, like a walkthrough of the process. Drums in the drum rack, plus shaker. And then I initially had a different like vocal chant thing going on, but I took that out to get rid of, to get it out of the way of the main vocal. Then we've got the keys. That's a combo of two different Arturia sounds, Analog Lab sounds, followed by a bass, which you probably heard. Hopefully you heard loud and clear. Dum, 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 dum. This cool little pigment situation here. And plus the thing that I think makes it all like epic sounding is just this held note, this held saw synth on operator. That's obviously like pumping a little bit, but that, listen to the instrumental with and without that. It just like having those high notes makes it that much more epic. Okay, so I make an instrumental and then I'm like, what do I need to do? I need to get vocals on this. I need to make a song with vocals. So I went through kind of a painstaking process on Splice. Which, if you don't know, Splice is like a sample audio library where you like do a subscription and you get so many credits per month and you can download that many samples. So if you go onto Splice and you just type vocals, there's obviously going to be, well, there's almost 300,000 results. So you want to start to refine that down to what particular style vocal you want. So obviously I just checked the vocal tag just to refine it even better. I looked specifically for a female vocal. And then I also looked for dry vocal because I knew I was going to be processing them with Humanoid. So if you don't search by dry and you instead get a bunch of wet vocals, those are going to have like reverb on them or delay or any other kinds of effects that could be there. And if you're going to be if your plan is to process the vocals even more, then you want to get dry vocals. So we got the closest thing we could get to dry vocals. The next thing that I searched by was my key. So this track is in B major. And I'm not sure if I searched specifically by BPM, but you do want to take this into an account when you're searching for the right samples because my track's at 128 beats per minute. And some of these, like trying to get a vocal sample that's at 100 BPM, it's going to sound unnatural when we bring it up to 128 probably. So you want to be in the ballpark. But anyway, once I refined by all those terms,
so suddenly
you can go through and start to
sometimes digs in
browse.
you.
And if you notice any of these samples with a check mark next to them, those are all samples that I downloaded. So I went through a big process of trying to find the right top line for this song, which is quite a big challenge. It's almost just like way easier to find a vocalist to work with. But if you don't have that option, of course, this is the way to go and you have to go through the process. So I downloaded a bunch of vocals, as many as I could to get the feel, and then I would just drop them into the project. You can see over here in my junk pile, there's like so much extra stuff that didn't end up making it into the song because I ended up finding the vocals that we have now. So why did I choose those vocals? Or how do you choose kind of the right vocals if you're trying to do this? Well, what I ended up finding was vocal, like, what is this line?
No, no, no.
How about this
Take
one?
me back.
No.
Take me back.
No.
Too many they're not telling us everything.
So that's a vocal line from the song that comes in where? That comes in here.
Anybody know?
Nope, comes in here.
No. Wait.
Where does it come in?
I wish I could.
Here?
They're not telling us everything. They've got secrets to keep.
Old gamer, please do not pester baby audio in the chat.
They're not telling us everything. They've got secrets to keep.
So that's that dry vocal. And the reason I went with these vocals is because I clicked into the pack and I saw that I could get a bunch of vocals from the same singer in the same key, and they kind of all go together. If you start to like mix different vocal samples, it might end up sounding out of place, but I ended up choosing these vocal samples because it gave me options.
Does anybody know where do we go?
And I can just skim through these and find B major samples.
Too many.
And you can hear that there's wet and dry versions. Anyway, so that's how we end up with the top line here, which is actually, I think, pretty dope because if you're just a bedroom producer, if you're a producer that doesn't have many people to collaborate with, but you want to write instrumental music for vocalists, like, what are you supposed to do? So I think this method works. It is a bit tedious, but you can end up with a good, clean result. So let's talk about how Humanoid plays a role in making this even better. And I'm going to hone in on this section here.
Life, something that I can't control.
So this is nothing. This is just the vocal that I brought in from Splice.
I have one fear in this life, something that I can't control.
However, then I layered it in with really thick harmonies, really wide harmonies. So listen to this now.
I have one fear in this life, something that I can't control.
Very cool, very cool. So in this group, actually, what we have two groups here. Oh, it's not even that group. We have one group here. In this vocal group, we have the same vocal stem. One is panned hard right. One is panned hard right. One is paired hard left. And that is how we're getting a very wide sound.
I have one fear in this life, something that I can't control.
I believe there's also a little bit of track delay on one of them, so they're not aligned perfectly. But we have humanoid on each of those layers. So let's take a look at what's happening in humanoid.
I have one fear in this life, something that I can't control.
Pay attention to this upper left corner.
I wish I could be blind, and I just need to know.
And we're gonna now switch to like playing and have some fun with this plugin at this point, because there's obviously, as you can see from just looking at it, there's a lot we can do. What's up, Jake? Man, just caught up to the live portion of the stream. This production is so sick so far. Thank you, Jake. Let's dig into what makes it cool. So you might have noticed that we have control over the notes in Humanoid, which is a really fun way to make harmonies with Humanoid. And remember, if I take Humanoid off of this, we just have the normal vocal stem panned. Turn Humanoid back on. So how do we set that up? Here we have a Midi track. This Midi track has Midi in it, obviously, has the Midi notes. And this Midi track is actually sending, let me get out of the way. This Midi track is sending those notes to Humanoid. If you want to try this at home, this is very, very important. When I make a new Midi track, I have a default Midi track that has this effects rack on it. If you have something similar, you're not going to be able to route your Midi. So make sure you delete anything that's on your Midi track in order to route it into a plugin. That's how you get access to that. It has to be a totally empty MIDI track to do this. So now, simply, I have routed Humanoid. I've routed the MIDI into Humanoid on track 34, and you'll notice that there's two of these tracks, right? We have 1 and 2, one going to track 34, one going to track 35. That's because these are, you know, like a stereo split. Like we're getting a wide sound. So let's, for the moment, work with not a stereo wide sound. Let's just work with a single one. So now I've got that centered. I'm going to turn on this MIDI situation so I can control it with my controller. Here we go. Let's come in here. I think I can get this shot brighter for y'all. There you go. Zoom in on my keyboard. So now I can literally play the vocals, if that makes sense. I'm playing MIDI. Let's open up Humanoid so we can see those notes coming in. And let's loop this section, and I'll show you how we can change it over time.
One fear in this life, something that I can't control.
Let's go up an octave.
I have one fear in this life, something that I can't control.
Spooky.
I have one fear in this life, something that I can't control.
So those harmonies are coming from my keyboard. If I don't send notes in, we're not going to hear anything.
I can't control.
So I could even just do harmonies on single words by only applying notes there.
In this life, something that I can't control. I have one fear in this life, something that I can't control.
And if I played that cleaner, it would sound even better. But does that make sense? I'm literally playing the notes. We can create any kind of harmony. And you can do that with just one note. What is important to note, I think, is that Humanoid is not meant to be your realistic style tuner. I think if you can judge by the aesthetic of the plugin, it is meant to truly be a vocal transformer. Like, you're not using this to get the most natural sounding vocal at all. You're looking to push the sound of the vocal with this plugin. I think that's probably emblematic from this little transform knob in the middle where we go from human to robot, and we have controls from like Robotify and things like that. So put that all together. So to just show you the final step of that, we were obviously playing the keyboard in real time, but if you want those harmonies, you know, to be permanent in your song, we simply just write the Midi. I have one fear in this life, something that I can't control. And again, this Midi here is being sent to the Humanoid plugin, and that's what's triggering those notes. So I love making those big harmonies. Let me reset that so that everything is sounding nice and wide. Is that making sense to everybody? On solo. There we go. I have one fear in this life, something that I can't control. And again, that wide sound is just coming from duplicating that track. So I do the harmonies on one line of the track, then I just duplicate that. But remember, since we're sending MIDI to the plugin, we need to take the extra step of duplicating the MIDI track as well. So 2 tracks, left and right, and then a MIDI track for each of those audio tracks. Slightly complex, but not overly complex, I don't think. Once I was able to get that all written, I just grouped it all together. That's just one way of using it, of using Humanoid. I have one fear in this life, something that I can't control. So maybe we can talk about some of the sound design elements now, but are there any questions about the harmonization aspect of that and using MIDI to harmonize? Very curious from you all. That's not the only method of harmonization that you can do with Humanoid, but we can explore more for sure. What's up, Dungeon Master? Nice to see you. Haven't seen you for a while. Where'd the sample come from? All of these vocal samples came from Splice. I found a Splice pack with solid top line and was able to craft the whole song from that Splice pack. Can we just do a public PSA real quick? I want to make sure everybody understands this, because this is a weird thing that happens for vocalists that make vocal packs. When you download a vocal pack or a vocal sample from Splice, from a singer, usually it'll have like the singer's name. It'll be like by this artist. If you use those samples and you make a song with that artist's samples and their voice, you are not collaborating with that artist. Do not submit your track as a collaboration to your distributor, and do not add that artist onto your track as a collaboration. That's not how it works. They don't want you to do that. The vocalists do not want you to do that. Just use their sample, and then it's your song. They're contributing to these libraries for that purpose. You don't feel like you need to credit them, and also they do not want you to credit them. You're not doing a collaboration with that artist. Do you get what I mean? Because I know some vocalists that have done packs that have had issues with that. I've even had issues with it. Like, I've done a collaboration, not a collaboration. I've done a challenge before where somebody added me as a collaborator and submitted their like challenge, like the music that they made for the challenge. They submitted it to Spotify, which is totally fine. If you do one of my sample challenges, you can always submit it. But they added me as a collaborator, and what's really dumb about that is you can't. It takes effort to get it off of your page, you know. Yes, and Hail Nomad notes that that is always in the splice rules. I think they were making it more explicit in like the pack descriptions, but yeah, I don't know. I think people might not read that. Silly question. So Humanoid is enhancing the vocals, is that correct? It depends what you mean by enhancing. We are definitely transforming the vocals. So let's get into more ways of transforming the vocal. And we'll just stick to this little harmony section.
I have a fear in this life, something that I can't control.
Starting here, we have Robotify and Formant. So let's crank the Robotify and play with the Formant. Formant is obviously going from having a bigger instrument, so like a lower tone, not lower notes, but lower tone, and then a smaller instrument, so a higher tone. Let's do Formant first. I want to solo just that main, sorry. That's our Formant knob. I had mine lowered just a little bit to separate it from the main vocal. And then Robotify, where things can get really crazy. It gets really synthy and like... Oh, I love that sound. It's like transforming the vocal into a synth, which we'll get more into that in a bit. Just notice that there's going to be some stuff we can play with here where there's a cog wheel icon, and we can dial in more settings for each of these. So that metallic sound of the Robotify, I love that. If you're not a fan of that, you can dial that back. Cool. So that right there is just Robotify and Formant, and I want to point your eyes here. We're not going to cover this right now, but we're using Midi because we're making those harmonies, remember? So the plugin is receiving note information from our Midi track. We, of course, have the option to set it to a scale or a specific note or a couple of notes. Midi. And then, of course, we can lock this setting, which is helpful if you're skimming through like presets and things like that. Of course, let's move down to utility because it's kind of simplified. So range is really useful if you're doing if you're using it as like a hard tune auto tuner, because if your vocal is only in this range rather than this range, you can limit the plugin so it's not searching for notes in those other places, and you'll get a more accurate sound from the tuning. We have a de-esser. We have a gate. We have a smoothing, which will start to add like some glides between notes. I don't know if we'll get it in this. We are getting it there. Do you hear the slight glide between notes? Right there at the beginning. Very, very cool. I think I want to go on. I'm going to show you all the rest of the plugin, but let's go on to some other ways that I'm using the Humanoid plugin in the actual song so you can hear it in action. Let's find the next instance of using it. My project is just way too complicated, slightly disorganized. All right, what is this? All right, here we have something I've labeled Hi Robot. Actually, I need to go back and fix those harmonies real quick and make sure I didn't break anything. Is this de-esser pretty good? The de-esser is good. I want to remind you all, this is not your utility vocal plugin. This is not the plugin that you're going to throw on your clean vocals and use it as your de-esser. This is not the plugin you're really going to throw on your vocals to do your natural tuning. This is an effect. Like, this is a transformation tool. So just have that mindset within. It's not like your one-stop shop vocal utility. It's not meant to be that. It does way more out-of-the-box stuff than that. All right, give a listen to this vocal section.
Anybody know if the place we go still feels like home?
All right, so we have the main vocal, and then we have this high robot layer. Let's kind of hone in on what's happening there.
Anybody know if the place we go still feels like home?
So this high robot layer is really interesting because I'm really trying to push this to not really sound natural at all. And I think it sounds very cool when played with the natural one.
Anybody know if the
Sorry, I want to solo that for you all. So this is an instance where I'm using proper tuning, scale tuning to B major instead of sending MIDI out. So that's doing its own vocal correction. This is a splice sample, so it was definitely already corrected. And I'm realizing that I can probably shrink the range here. And I've got that smoothing cranked up, so those notes are gliding between each other. I'm not looking for the natural sound here. I'm really looking for this robotic kind of sound. I'll point your attention to the center of the plugin now, the synthesize section. Here we can choose different wave shapes and even bring in our own wave shapes. But you can see there's a bunch here. I'm just using a simple saw shape for this one. And then as we dial this transform knob up, that is going to that's going to take the vocal from sounding like a normal human vocal. As you push the transform up, it's going to sound more just like a straight up synth. We use that later in the project as well. So you can hear, once I crank that, pretty much most elements of the vocal are lost. So dial into taste. We also have octave and note shift. So note shift is not really applicable in this instance, but here you can change the note by semitone. It starts to not make sense because we're still locked to a key, don't forget. But octave is helpful because octave is sort of different than formant, where if I play this at the normal octave, it sounds like this. It doesn't sound, it doesn't sound different. It's not going to layer in well with the main vocal. So if I do an octave up, we obviously get a higher octave. But you can also get a lower octave as well. We have stretch here, which is going to change and affect the shape of the wave that we're using to alter the sound. And then the shape, we can get a more extreme shape or a less extreme shape. This is obviously going to have an impact on the sound. Wonder if Humanoid can be used on a synth track. Well, as Baby Audio points out in the track, it is an audio effect. We could experiment later with trying to include some non-vocal related sounds through the plugin. That would be cool. Kai says, "How are you holding up in the heat?" Thank you for the check-in, Kai. I'm doing okay. My studio gets very hot in the second half of the day, which is why I usually like to do morning streams. So appreciate you checking in. All right. So yeah, that's that center section here, but we have the ability to dial this in. But you do have an overall dry wet for the plugin as well on the output settings. Let's keep breezing through. I know there's a whole nother third of the plugin that we haven't looked at yet, but we're going to get there. Oh, what did I mess up? I messed it up. I got to go octave up on that. That's right.
If the place we go still feels like home.
So here's my thing. Every song, every pop song that I listen to that has really great vocal production, there's something new happening in the vocal production, like beat to beat. So you can see just in this first part of the song, what is this? The first, but after the intro, this is like the first 30 seconds of the song. Maybe like we'll call it a first verse. We start with some harmony.
This life, something that I can't control.
Little background vocal.
Could be blind, but I just need to know.
Here in this section,
No, where do we go when our skin gets cold?
in that section, we pretty much keep the vocal line clean, and we just pop in for that one little harmony, which you can see is being triggered right there by that MIDI. Watch that again.
No, where do we go when our skin?
So you can see that there's full audio in this track, but again, look at the mixer. There's no audio coming out of that track
No, where do we go?
because there's only audio. Well, there is audio coming out of it, but only when it's triggered by MIDI notes.
Where do we go when our skin gets cold? Does anybody know if the place we go
Now we're in the high robot.
still feels like home?
Cool. So I just wanted to point that out because I know a lot of you are experimenting with vocal stuff. I think keeping your vocal track exciting comes down to variety, and that variety is not just section. It's not just, oh, the verse is different than the chorus. It's like, how is the verse different from itself, like inside of it? So we go from having lush, big harmonies throughout in this first half. We've got a background vocal that comes in, another background vocal that comes in. Then we switch it up for the next 4 bars, where we just have a clean vocal with one set of harmonies coming in, followed by the back half of that 8 bars having the high robot sound, a new sound being introduced.
Anybody know if the place we go still feels like home?
Okay, now next we could go here.
They're not telling us everything. They've got
Yes, let's go here.
secrets to keep.
There's 2 instances of Humanoid. Who can tell me what they're doing? I'll play you just the vocals. Listen closely and tell me what 2 instances of Humanoid are doing here in this section.
They're not telling us everything. They've got secrets to keep. If I ever know everything, then I'll finally sleep. They're not telling us
What do you
everything.
hear?
They've got secrets to keep. Then I'll finally sleep. They're not telling us everything.
Yes, one of them is, down-tuned, an octave lower. So let's listen to that one. That's just very, very simple. It's kind of buried in the background because this is just doubling the main vocal, and I just wanted that subtle thickness. We're coming from the main verse to sort of this pre-chorus section, so I want energy to build, so I want the vocal to be thicker here.
They're not telling us everything.
So I lose a lot of definition in that lower octave. You can hear, I don't hear any of the brightness in the low octave vocal. And it's a little bit crushed. It's a little robotified, right? But I don't need any of that definition because it's all going to come from the main vocal anyway.
They're not telling us everything.
So here we're using a triangle mesh wave shape. We're doing the standard tuning here on the pitch correction. Like standard I mean the scale mode. And we have this widened. I'm not sure if any of you noticed, but we are able to add some effects here. The first one I'll talk about here is widen. So obviously I can get a really wide sound just from within the plugin.
They're not telling us everything.
Listen to the difference.
They're not telling us everything.
I talk about this a lot when we do track feedback, but many of y'all have sounds competing with each other on a track. So if these two vocals need to coexist, having them both right down the center of the mix doesn't make a lot of sense. And which one is more important? Which one is the one you want the listener to focus on? You obviously want them to focus on the main vocal. So this low double is meant to be just part of the scenery. So we widen it.
They're not telling us everything.
Keeps clear space, clear room for the main vocal to be there down the middle, and then happening around us is that low octave.
They're not telling us everything.
Nice and wide.
They've got secrets to keep.
Out of context of the track, maybe it sounds a little odd, but with the track, I think it adds a nice little bass layer.
They're not telling us everything.
Now, nobody pointed this one out. What's happening here? Can you even tell that that's a vocal? That is the same vocal line, but we're really pushing Humanoid in this one. You can see we're pushed all the way, almost all the way on the transform here. We're going an octave up, and we're totally robotified.
They're not telling us everything.
And then playing with the idea of not just doubling it, but doing an echo. So for the first half here, again, this goes to variation throughout your track with your vocals. The vocal's already being doubled by the low octave. So instead of using this vocal synthy sound to double again, I simply did an echo. They're not telling us, they're not telling us, like a row row your boat situation. You can see that here. Main vocal happens, this echo comes. Main vocal happens, this echo comes. And that sounds like
They're not
a
telling
synth.
us everything. They've got secrets to keep.
However, again, keeping it varied. We're not going to do those echoes again. Now we're going to switch to properly doubling it, where it's literally like building energy. Because now we have the main vocal, the low vocal, and this vocal synth coming together, and the last 4 bars of this pre-chorus preparing us for a big drop.
If I ever know everything, then I'll finally sleep.
And I think it comes together really, really well. And it actually saves me a lot of time because I don't have to go write the synth line, or I don't have to convert audio to Midi to make a synth line that doubles the vocal line. I can literally just change
If I ever know everything.
the vocal into a synth. Let's try to do this with different waveforms. It's a sine square combo. Let's try to do a saw. Comb filter. Triangle. Let's go down to like a weird one. That one sounds pretty good. Raver's Delight. So you can see just by changing the wave here in the synthesize module, you're going to get a very different sound. And again, you can import your own. Definitely ranges from like super bright to slightly more subtle. I'm going to stick with more subtle and use the sine square combo. All right, yes. So converting that to a synth.
Ever know everything, then I'll finally sleep.
I feel like I had one more thing to say about that and I forgot. But any questions on that so far? So here in this section, we used like kind of a lower octave double and we converted our vocal to a synth, basically. What do we think? And thank you for the kind words as well. Is this the role backing singers would fill? Yeah, it's an analog to that for sure. Just remember, like in electronic music production, electronic music production is relatively new, right? So in the long history and tradition of music, tension and release and layers and backing vocals, etc., that was all done in real life by real instruments, real players, real vocalists. So if you wanted to build up energy in an orchestra track, you might bring in more strings, or they might start playing higher, they might start playing faster. What's the electronic music equivalent of that? It's all kind of the same thing, bringing in higher ranged instruments, getting things to play faster, change over time. It's all one thing, you know? So is it the role that traditionally a background vocalist would play? Yes, but it's the electronic music version. If you want a straight up background vocal sounds, you should go for that. But if you want some of this more out there electronic-y kind of sound, then this is the approach you would want to do. Old Gamer says, I really like that the starts and ends of words are really smooth, although it's a robotic voice. I have a few similar plugins, but much harsher, making me hesitate to use at all times. Yeah, I think that is a good point, and that is a good pro of Humanoid. You can push it far, and you can get a real robotic sound, but you can also just get I won't say like a fully natural sound, but you can get just like a normal hard-tuned sound out of it as well. And I think choosing the waveforms goes a long way with that, because again, you could choose a sine wave, which is going to be, or a square wave, which is going to feel a lot more smooth, or you could choose a saw wave, which is going to be like more grating. And a lot of these waves carry through those characteristics on like different levels. You know what I mean? What's up, Piccolo Black? Nice to see you. Dungeon Master says there are so many plugins that can do similar work to this, but the workflow seems to keep everything tight. I hope that comes across right. I think workflow is really important. I agree, Dungeon Master. Baby Audio is really good at that. I'm not just saying that because they're sponsoring the stream, but there are other plugin manufacturers where the plugin doesn't even look fun to use, first of all. And then second of all, you have to dig behind menus to what you're looking for, or things aren't clear. So here, everything is in your face right there, divided into these clear sections. When you change something, you can get a clear idea of what's happening sound-wise. And if there's anything hidden behind a cog menu, that's even simple. It's like, give me the front page of everything I need to do to transform my sound, and when I'm ready to dig deeper, I dig into the cog icon and like, oh, let me dial in this robot even more. All right, Penny is requesting we hear the full track played. Yes, let's do that, because I have more to show you. There's some stuff happening in the intro that is really fun, and then we haven't even gotten to the drop yet, which has quite a few layers. But listen back. I guess now that we understand all these things about Humanoid, let's listen back to it and see if you can start to pick out the processing and the things that are happening. I'll open up one window. Whoa, we got two Pennies in the chat. We got Penny Game and Penny C. Let's do it. All right, playing this back. What should I call this song, by the way? Give it a listen and give me a title if you can.
I have one fear in this life, something that I can't control. I wish I could be blind, but I just need to know. No, where do we go? When our skin gets cold, does anybody know if the place we go still feels like home? They're not telling us everything, They've got secrets to keep. If I ever know everything, then I'll finally sleep. Something that I can't control.
Cool. All right. If anybody has a title or something, I think the vocals are based around like sleep, so I kind of harped on that. Trying to give it a name, ADG. Trying to give it a name. Thank you so much, Dungeon Master. Kai, I'm glad. I think you liked that drop part, the 4 to the floor part, maybe. Thank you. I could see this leading up to a big old super saw break. Yeah, it does have that kind of traditional EDM vibe, right? Sleep Paralysis. That's a great name. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. We have more to dig into for Humanoid. Dungeon Master, I see your request. Can we hear some non-vocals in there? I'm curious what happens combined with percussion. We'll do experimentation after we work our way through the track. But yes, we will do that. My mom is here. Hello. Everybody say hi to my mom in chat. Feels like home. Wow, thank you. That's really nice. Penny Game asks, please, can you real time with your voice? Unfortunately, this is not a plugin that you can use in real time. All right, the heat. We are maintaining. Nothing has broken yet. Nothing has caught fire yet with the heat, so we're good, chat. And I also want to point out, you all have seen how many instances of Humanoid are running on this. And then we also have the big instrumental. And I also have some mastering effects on. I just want to point out the CPU. Everything's running. There's at least, in that section alone, there's 3 instances of Humanoid, and then of course there's other instances happening earlier. So in this section, there's actually not much new from what we've already discussed. The vocals are kind of chopped up and stuff. What do we have here? This is just the main vocal chorus. There's no Humanoid happening here, even though there's one there idle because I was experimenting. So we just have the main hook. Everything is just based around that phrase, finally sleep. Again, that's another advantage to grabbing all vocals from one pack, because you might be able to get the same line, but different versions of it. So this is an example of a vocal sample actually that the rest of the line just doesn't work with the song. Yeah. So like that whole line doesn't work, so I just grabbed the first line of it, and I think it works pretty well in the little drop there. Okay, but what's going on Humanoid-wise? We have these little echoes, or these little backing vocals. That's, again, a super hard-tuned thing. We're note shifting it up an octave, and we're bringing in more of a higher octave sound, so we're just, like, pushing it. Where is it? So that's just a little vocal. It's almost sounded like a harmonica there for a moment. All right, then we have the track titled Sleep Sleep, which we'll get to momentarily. But I'll point out to you the boring thing first, which is the low double again. Same low double from before. and then the same vocal synth sound from before. That is doubling, but not doubling in every spot, as you can see. We skip some steps. Put that all together with the main vocal, and we get this. So you can hear that they've got like a back and forth relationship. I think I'm probably got too much delay going on there. I am using transit on the main vocals. This kind of weird delay situation happening there. I wouldn't say this is definitely not perfect vocal production by any means, but I'm just trying to have fun. Okay, and then the last layer we didn't talk about is sleep, 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 sleep. Curious if you all can even like really hear that in the mix. So, I've cut the word sleep from the line, and that kind of works as like a, and it's even like a little behind the beat. Like, let's listen to that with metronome. It's a little ahead of the beat, actually. It's a little ahead of the beat, so it kind of pushes the pulse forward. And this here is, again, Humanoid in Midi mode, and we're getting Midi from this Midi track. All right, let's experiment with that a little bit, because I know some of you didn't see the Midi part at the beginning. But I'm basically sending Midi from this track to the Humanoid plugin on this audio track. And I can do this with my MIDI controller as well. So you can see the notes coming in the top left of the plugin. So then as this audio plays, let's loop this part. It's going to be a little annoying for a second, I think, but bear with me. We can do single notes. Let's go ahead and solo this. Turn off that MIDI. And one thing you might notice is the dry signal is coming through. That is because on the output menu, little cog icon, I've got the dry wet of the entire plugin set to 50%. So we're still getting the main vocal coming through, and we're just adding notes basically on top of it or along with it. So you can have a lot of fun just playing the vocals, I guess you could say. I do have a lot of fun doing that. There was something else I wanted to show here. Come back to that in a bit. Oh, I guess I'll just talk about the difference between MIDI and note mode. So in note mode, you're literally picking the notes. You're picking a single note or you're picking duo. So we have mono or duo. You pick one note or you pick two notes. If I may levy one criticism towards Baby Audio, it is that this diagram is insane. This piano keyboard diagram is insane because it makes me feel like I have to reverse my... It makes me feel like I have to walk around to this side of the piano to see the notes properly. Do you know what I mean? Rather than it looking like another octave of a piano, if this was to be the higher octave, these black keys should be up here. It shouldn't look like a reflection. It's very jarring at first. Just one note I had on the plugin. Like, this is a G sharp, but if I look at it the other way, it's an A sharp. Does anybody know what I mean? Whatever. Anyway, that's just to show you you have the scale mode where you can lock all your notes. You can like do your typical auto tune thing where you hard tune to a set scale. You have your note mode where you're selecting either one or two notes. The whole thing is going to play on one or two notes. Then you have Midi mode where you are entering in notes with a Midi keyboard or you're drawing in Midi and sending it to the plugin. Lock is to lock it. So we have a single line of notes here that is controlling and that's kind of how the drop of our song comes together. It's all of these different vocal layers coming together for me to try to make like one epic hyped tune. That's what I was trying to do, at least. But I saved a cool little thing about Humanoid for last in this track, and it's something that happens in the intro of the track. So listen to this. This is printed to audio, but just listen to this for a moment. I love doing vocals like that, so that's just part of the intro. And then those echoes kind of come in later, so watch those pink clips fade in.
I can't control. I wish I could be blind, but I just need to know.
I think that's another cool thing about great vocal production is that anytime, like you can see where this phrase ends, in a lot of the songs that I love, they fill that space. If the vocal phrase ends, oh, we were paying attention to that vocal and it's going away, give me something else to hear before the next vocal line comes in. So I'm filling that gap with that cool vocal processed sound, but how did we get that sound? Well, if you guessed we got it with Humanoid, you would be correct. So let me take a look at the pre-printed version. Or you know what? Let's just throw... By the way, you're looking at... This is Humanoid here down at the bottom, but you can easily automate everything. So you can look at the main plugin window and everything stays clean, but then you get all those controls down here in the Abletonified version to map. So what do I want to do here? What I basically want to do is get rid of the automation for a moment so I can demonstrate to you what is happening. There is a freeze function, a freeze and a buffer section in Humanoid. This is, to me, the first thing I went for. I love a good like freeze function. So I've taken the clean vocal, I've put it on this track, and let's just listen to it for a moment. But let me take all the filtering off. And you know what? Let's just initialize the plugin. We'll set this back to B major. And then, is there another effect on here? I just want to dial back all effects so you can see or hear what's happening. Just pull back on the reverb. Should have...
I have a fear in this life, something that I can't control.
All right, so let's dial in a bunch of stuff in the plugin.
I have one fear in the...
Let's keep it relatively human, so I'm going to dial back the robotify. Bring down the range, because we don't need it to be doing all that. We could widen it if we wanted.
I have one fear in this life.
We could add warble, which I didn't talk about in effects yet.
I have one fear in this life, something that I
But let's not push that too far. Again, we have rate and mode here.
I have one fear in this life, something that I can't control.
So what we have the ability to do, and I'll dial the reverb back up, is freeze a section. So let's hear what happens when I freeze a section.
I have one fear, I have one fear, I have one fear, I have one fear.
It's frozen, right?
I have one fear, I have one fear, I have
So now, regardless of what's happening in the DAW, that audio is frozen in the buffer. But now we can change the buffer size.
one fear, I have one fear, I have one
And this becomes really fun to play with. It's like kind of like instant drop creator, basically. And you can have a lot of fun with that. So the experimentation that I went through was just finding a good part to freeze, and I kind of just did that by trial and error. Try to get a different spot. Unfreeze. Sync the buffer size to your project's tempo. I did not experiment with that. Thank you for saying that in the chat, Baby Audio. But what I think is really cool about that is the freezing and the buffer is the last thing. All the other effects you can change. So I could sit here and do that for days. I know that's probably annoying to listen to. But all in all, what I ended up coming up with through that process is this. So you can hear I definitely added some reverb and delay on top of that. But that's the buffer and the filter changing and a few other things getting tweaked in Humanoid. And then since that involves automation and freezing things into the buffer, I printed it to audio because I actually didn't test if this is true or not, but Baby Audio can answer in the chat. I'm pretty sure if I close my project and reopen it, that audio is not going to be in the buffer anymore. I just assumed that. So I just found a sound that I liked with automation and everything, printed it to audio, and I just kept this Introvox thing here so that I could demo all that for you all. Pretty cool effect, huh? To me, that's like a Charlie XCX kind of vocal effect all the time. All right. I want to get experimental with this plugin next, so we're going to move on from this track. But if you have any remaining questions about Humanoid, please drop them in the chat. Or if you have any questions about this track in general, I'm happy to answer those. I want to take a quick bathroom break because since it's so hot, I'm drinking a lot of water, trying to stay hydrated. So yeah, formulate any questions you might have. I'm going to play the track from the top, and I'm going to come back from the bathroom break and answer any questions you might have. So don't go anywhere, or grab yourself a beverage if you need to. Here you go. Give it a listen. Be right back.
I have one fear in this life, something that I can't control. wish I could be blind, but I just need to know. No, where do we go when our skin gets cold? Does anybody know if the place we go still feels like home? They're not telling us everything. They've got secrets to keep. If I ever know everything, then I'll finally sleep.
Alright, that was good timing. Alright, didn't see any new pop-up questions in the chat, but shall we get experimental with this? Maybe open up a new project? Run some melodies and stuff through it? Let's do it. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that track up, but I had a lot of fun making it. Yes, I washed my hands, Dungeon Master. Thank you for asking. Always feels like an accusation when I go to the restroom and come back and people ask that question. All right, what should we do? Let's grab Humanoid first and foremost. Now there's a bunch of presets in here. I had basically been working off of the initial, you know, the starting from 0, but I've got a bunch of factory presets in here that could be pretty fun to dive into. I think presets are a fun way to see how a plugin works. Should we just run a bunch of random samples through it? I was on another tab just listening, but I knew someone would ask that question. Marino pops in just to say they knew somebody would ask that question. All right, yeah, let's run some percussion through. Let me just go to my samples folder. I can allegedly search by loops in Live's browser. It's a big new addition to Live 12. But, yeah, no comment. Let's put this sorting to the test, I guess. Search for a drum loop. What would be fun? I think a conga line, that could be fun too. Let's start with just basic congas because I don't want to push it too far. Okay, that's the initial sound we get. That's pretty funny. Do a dry wet mix. In my mind, it's like this has got to be blended, right? Or let's not blend it and let's push it. And also, let's use duo mode. I'm just going to set it to a chromatic scale. There it is. Yes. Now, one thing I would like to do is just layer those together, like dry and... That melody is coming out of nowhere. Let's go with a different wave shape. Oh, that is it. Cool. Oh, smoothing? That is pretty dope, right? From this conga sample to this. Together. Let me actually grab audio track. I just wanted to really get that printed. I mean, you just like take a kick now, right? Like, I love Ableton's new library search. It's great because you type in kick, loop, and drum loop, and it shows me that I only have 2 samples. It's like insane. Big new update, Live 12. That's not what I wanted to do at all. It's like instant kind of techno groove here. All right. Well, that's one thing. That's one non-vocal thing added through. I think we were talking about adding some Foley sounds or something, right? Let's see. Birds and cars, getting coffee. I want to find something with no pitches. that's my own recording. Try to add wobble. All right, we'll add wobble to that conga. Warble, that is. Warble. Little bit. Too crazy. All right. I don't know. Let's not be too precious. Let's just get into experimentation mode. All right. That's got a fair amount. This is from my Korea Field Recordings pack. Let's just see what happens here. I am going to preemptively sweep some lows out. And we don't need to be compressing that. All right. Now let's grab Humanoid. It's finding that, I think there's like cicadas in the background, and I think it's finding that note. Let me just jump down. I mean, I'm just going to click on the random harmonies. The trees are speaking to me. Ooh, there's something going on here. Could end up making some drones out of this or something. There's a drone. And the way it like reacts to the bird tweet. Use that gate to have it only pop up then. Can meditate to this. What did I do wrong? I think I did something when I duplicated that track. I wanted to try to get a little harmony going, or a different harmony. Oh no, what am I doing? I need to just use Midi. Here we go. We're gonna play the sample. All right, so this is on C sharp and G sharp, D flat and A flat. And let me set up a Midi track. Let's kind of play this drone. This might be a cool new way to make an instrument, actually. And then we are just going to arm this track. We're going to send the output to track 5, Humanoid. It's going to find it automatically. Oh, yeah. Oh, and since freeze is enabled, here, let's just run it though. And I want more reverb here. It's bagpipey. We made a bagpipe somehow. Let's bring down the warble. Let's go higher. Oh, I realized that I am running the reverb before Humanoid, so let's do that the opposite. And there we go. We have our nice little nature drone that I never expected to make. I wonder, is there a way to... All right, we got a little lost in the sauce there. What do we think of that? That's something. This is definitely something I need as an ambient person. I like that. You identify as an ambient person. I think me too. The variation in the drones are darn cool. Yeah. Yes. It's very cool to get that blend and be able to like hit it with some notes. All right, anyway, let's do one more thing. What's one more thing we could run through this that's not a vocal? We did drums, we did a bird sound. I feel like any kind of pitched instrument is going to be less interesting because it's basically just going to, you know, tune the synth. Guitar, okay. I think guitar makes sense. Like an acoustic instrument. Yes, that makes sense to me. Any loops? You know, that's got a lot going on in it. Guitar, actually, acoustic guitar. Ooh, let's try that. I wonder. Not 100% sure how it's going to react, but let's try it. Let's bring our tempo back down. Let's not compress this again. All right, basic guitar part in G major. Let's grab Humanoid. Yeah, I was wondering if we could get this glidey sort of synth sound that's really popular now. Oh, let me set the right key. Huh. All right, that's the robot tuner preset anyway. Let me jump to maybe one of these. Oh, there's instrument category. Ooh. Just that hint of texture. Off. So that's like a gentle little electronic texture. That one's going even further. Oh, the scale is changing. I have to pay attention to that. Actually, let's go ahead and G major lock. What's up, Krista McCullen? Long time no see. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, these are for drums. Is there any? Oh yeah, there's a guitar. Digital Viber. Yes, Pickleback, I locked the scale. The lock button's right there. Yeah, of course, this is like a complex, plucked melody guitar thing. There's a lot going on in it. So what you should be expecting from this plugin is like transformative, kind of odd results. So lo-fi. But even this, like as a texture layer, is nice. It's just weird. Doesn't make any sense, but it's weird and it's cool. So I guess, yeah, beyond just the vocal aspect of it all, if you are looking for a plugin that you can have a lot of fun with, just transforming different sounds, I think... less is more, less is more. It's almost like little water droplets. Piccolo Black said I would record the effect to its own track and mix it behind the other guitar. I agree. I am playing with the dry wet. We have dry wet here, but I do think it would be fun to separately process this fully wet version for texture. Yeah, that's beautiful. Let me just quickly go initial. Just weirdness. I won't get y'all too caught up in the madness, but that's Humanoid, everybody. Humanoid by Baby Audio. I want to thank Baby Audio once again for supporting the channel and letting me go live on a Thursday to bring you a look at this new plugin. But what do y'all think? So the plugin, don't forget, is currently on sale at its introductory price. But in the description down below, please don't forget that there is a discount code, and I believe you can stack that on top of the introductory price. So it's currently 40% off. If you use code TAETRO10, I believe that gets you another 10% off. So go for that. If you want to grab Humanoid, Baby Audio is great. I don't know if you've tried any of their other plugins. I have. I was using Transit on that track before. That's another good one. They've got a bundle. And one more thing I'd like to point out. If you are intrigued and excited by Baby Audio plugins, you should... There is still time to enter our Ghost Wave Community Challenge, where the winners will get prize bundles, both from IK Multimedia and Baby Audio. So check them out. Check out Baby Audio, but here is the link to the challenge if any of y'all need a weekend project this weekend. And here's a link to, or there's a link in the description actually. Click that link in the description, you will get it. And Baby Audio says TAETRO 10 will work with all of our plugins. So even if you wanted to get more than just that Humanoid plugin, you'd be good to go. All right, y'all. As usual, this stream is going to be up for you all to watch from the beginning. If you tuned in late, we did have fun breaking down a song, and then we had fun with these experimentations at the end. So it's getting hot here in the studio. I'm going to call it a day. I want to thank you all for joining me. I did post an Instagram reel featuring this plugin today, so go engage with that. Go watch that video. It's cool visual effects happening there. And there will be more to come from me and Humanoid and all the other things soon. So stay cool, everybody. I will talk to you later. This has been TAETRO. Have a good one.